everyone, Sama. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm spending the day with the brilliant people at Rotosound. Just going to go through the factory and talk to them a little bit, talk about the string making process. And see, Rotosound is steeped in rock and roll and music history from everything. We're talking about starting from Jimi Hendrix, Noel Gallagher, all the way to Guthrie Govan and loads of players, which I'm sure you'll find out about. But yeah, watch the video.
Alright.
Cool.
Sorry, your name again was?
Sama.
Sama.
Yeah, and you're John?
I'm John.
Cool.
And we'll start at the beginning. For my sins, I've been with the company now 30 years in the business.
Right.
I'm the MD of the company, Jason the chairman. Right, so first of all, goods inwards. We bring in the wire. Here we have the wire store. In here we keep a multitude of different wires.
Nice.
We keep all the core wire, the centre parts of the string.
Yeah.
It's the wrap wire, or the wire, or the cover wire. And this ranges anywhere from bronze, brass, monel, which is a copper nickel alloy we use on the flat rails, which we produce our own tape on this machine here.
Right.
Then we have stainless steel, which is a magnetic stainless steel, unlike most stainless steels which are non-magnetic, used for cutlery, that kind of thing.
Oh, right, okay.
With strings, it needs to be magnetic, obviously. It needs to respond to the magnetic field, the pickups.
That's right, yeah.
So therefore, it has to be magnetic stainless. So it's a special grade of stainless. We also use nickel-plated steel.
Yeah.
And at one time, it used to be iron in the old days, which had a very sweet sound of its own. But of course, iron, nickel plate, soft iron became very expensive. And so that was changed, unfortunately, by the wire suppliers, most of which are in the States, I have to say. And nowadays, it's nickel plated steel. So there's a number of different materials that we use for the wrap wire. Also, of course, nylon. We use nylon both for the 88s, which is the electric string, the true bass, which is the electric string with the which emulates the sound of the double bass. That's the idea of it.
Right.
So you have a steel string, just as you would a normal electric steel bass string, but you then cover the string in a nylon tape. And what that does is it cuts down on the presence of the string, but it enhances the mid and lower ranges. So you get, which is essentially the nearest thing you're going to get to a double bass sound.
Right, okay.
Which you can play on an electric bass, such as a Precision or whatever.
Right.
These strings were, those strings, particular strings, were introduced back in 1962 for Jim Burns, when Jason's father was tasked with making strings, especially for the white and black Bisons, which were probably the biggest bass at the time being sold anywhere. Was obviously pitched against the Fender Precisions and jazz basses at the time. And those strings were a peculiar to Jonestown, and he designed the strings, and it was purely for the Burns basses. And then from then on, of course, everybody else wanted them, so we've made them ever since. So there's that. There's the double bass, of course, which uses the gold nylons there. All these nylons are very special nylons for the job. They took over from gut, which obviously back in the 30s was the be-all and end-all of materials.
Right.
But for any of the traditional strings, such as double bass, some cello and so forth, but then gradually through the century, through the period of time, things change. Costs, of course, were ever increasing, so people were looking for substitutes for all these old animal materials.
Okay, yeah. Was it cat guts and?
Yeah, cat guts. Which the cat gut will come mainly from sheep.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and you can still buy that now, and of all places, the place where you'll buy a fine gut is still very much exported is Iraq.
Right, okay.
Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where you buy gut. But it's awful stuff to work with because it pongs like hell, you know, it's not very nice to work with. But actually, some of the nylons now that you buy, they're made especially for tone and other things, and believe it or not, it's quite a technical product. It's not just nylon, fishing line. It's the monofilament used is of a certain grade, which is right. Plus the fact, when you're using this material, you're plucking nylon. Yeah. If it's not the right nylon, you get a whisker. You get feathering of the nylon, like you did in the old days with gut. You know,
right? Okay.
Gut to make it gradually broke up. So there's all these things, plus the fact when we're making strings, especially flat wound nylons, yeah, you have to burnish the string, and what you need a grain of nylon which will polish nice and give you the right finish. Right. Some nylons are not good like that; they break up when they're burnished, so it's quite a technical product in itself.
And all of that is made here. None of it's made abroad.
No, we don't make the material here. None of the material is made here.
You bring the material in.
I buy the material in, usually various places, Germany, Sweden, and most of all the United States. Right. Because in the States, you have probably something like 40 different string companies out there, from the big ones to the small ones. Yeah. And so the drawing mills that produce this stuff, that's where the abundance of business is going to be, trade is going to be. So naturally, there's far more over there than there is in the UK. Yeah. Although UK at one time was very, very big in that sense, but of course it all gradually disappeared.
So you're the only string manufacturers in the UK left, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you know, Picasso, of course, in Wales, but yes, other than Picasso, we are the only string manufacturers in the country. We're certainly the biggest. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's nobody that is anything like this size here. Yeah. And of course, we rank about third in the world as well. So. That's right, yeah. You know, if we take the Dario out the equation, then it's Rotosound. Yeah. And so on. So yeah, we've got a very proud heritage of over 50 years. So yeah, we've done a lot. We made big inroads, and we're exporting to something like 65, 66 countries in the world. Yeah, including China, Russia, and South America, which we're breaking into in a much bigger way now. So right, yeah. There's a lot there. And some of that nylon incidentally comes from Argentina. So there we go. The centre part of the string, of course, is the core. The core is high tensile piano wire. This breaks at about 130 tons per square inch. It comes in on 12-inch reels because we don't want it to have a cast. That is to say, when we unwind it, if it were on small reels, it would be too curly, and you wouldn't be able to use it on the machines, as I'll show you in a minute. Right, okay. So it has to be on these so that when we unwind it, you've got a large loop. It doesn't pose a problem with misfeeding on the machine. Okay? So we tend to buy this from two companies, and for the cores we use only hexagon wire, hexagon profile wire. Right. This is a wire that was originally produced for the telecommunications people. Because when you had sensitive circuitry, you could actually tie wire on it, right, and it would grip. That was the whole point. And from then on, the Mates wire company in the States, piano wire company, they took it up and they thought, it'd be good for making music strings, because when you made music strings in the old days, you used round core wire. That's all you could buy, round high tensile wire, a bit like spring wire. Okay. The problem with that is that you either then got to put indent flats on the end at the tail end of the string, or you had to use nylon floss, very soft floss underneath, to lock the winding. Right. Otherwise the winding is going to do this, and you have a dead string. So it was quite, and it didn't lend itself to mass production. That's why in those days all strings were totally handmade, as they had to be. Well, when the hexagon core wire was introduced by the Mates piano string company in America, it then meant that when you make a string now, you didn't need to lock the string off at the tail end, and that every winding of the cover wire, right, would lock itself. So you had a much better string. The string would last a lot longer than a round wound string would, a round core would. It lasted a lot longer, and it was much easier to make. on a more automatic basis,
Right.
as we do in the factory with our automatic machines. So therefore, definitely, and of course that helps keep costs down, which is really why today you're buying what you're paying for a set of strings today, compared with other prices of other commodities. We will always say they're still buying it at 1979 prices. You know, the strings haven't gone up anything like what other products in the world have gone up.
Right, that's right, yeah.
Because we've been able to, because we have made such advances on the manufacture of the product, that we've been able to keep the cost well down.
Right.
And pass that cost on to the customer.
Awesome.
So, we have the wire, there's somewhere in the order of just over 9.5 tons of wire in this store.
Wow.
These machines are German machines, brilliant machines I might add. I bought the old ones back in 1987. Prior to that, we used to have benches, groups of women,
Right.
that actually hand make all the chords. But again, the way forward was definitely to have chords automatically made. As you can imagine, string making at one time was very, very labour intensive, and because of that, to keep costs down and remain competitive in the world, we had to go with everyone else, and so therefore we became more mechanised and had to invest thousands and thousands of pounds in core making machines, which now you have one man working 4 machines, okay, as opposed to 15 ladies sitting at a bench where we're doing the same job. This section here, we can produce 25 to 30,000 chords.
Is that a day? Wow.
Yes. Each machine is slightly different because of the age, but other than that, they both do the same job. What they do is they will take wire at a predetermined set length, and that's the length of the string that you're making, and then by virtue of a hopper, the string ball will fall down through the hopper into a chuck. The wire from the reel is fed into the chuck. It is then folded, twisted, and then discarded down the rail.
Just down there. Yeah. The same process.
It's exactly the same process. But we have a machine here that will do both bass guitar and guitar.
Okay.
And then we have one over there that's guitar only. This one's guitar only, and this one there here is bass only.
Okay.
So to cover every eventuality.
Do you mind if I get a close up?
Absolutely.
All right. Oh, lovely. Where's
you telephoto into there, that's a good shot. You telephoto right into the shot.
Where's that? Here?
Watch the actual string
Awesome. Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's become actually making the chorus and the capital plan, the production planning of the chorus is a lot more complicated now than it used to be.
Right.
Because at one time we would use just flat chords on the string balls at the end of the chord. These days, of course, we use coloured balls. So imagine the colour balls will be the right colour for that string in a set. And because you might use one string in 2 sets, the top end, for instance, of the guitar set might be the B on another set,
That's right, yeah.
But likewise, you can't have all colour balls. So you might have, for instance, a 12 gauge plate. It might have a red ball on it, the first string, but if it's the second string is another set, then it will be white.
Didn't you recently change the colours as well?
That's right. Red, white, and blue
That's right, yeah.
is the colour of the ball end. So that you have red, white, blue, red, white, blue. And here is on the packet, on the foil packaging, so the player will know. You can certainly tell the difference between a red ball on a B and a red ball on a G. Deal.
Yeah.
Some strings still have to be handmade. With all the great revolution of mechanisation and automation. The double bass machine over there, behind all this, we still make our double bass strings, of course, the RS4000s, they're all handmade still.
Wow.
And all the flat wound, the RS77s, which are flat wound mono, the metal flat wound, and the 88s, which are the nylon flat wound, all still made by hand.
So is that sort of like classical guitars as well, or classical guitars?
They will be made by hand as well.
Wow, okay.
That's why he's wearing a mask.
Right.
This material is a mono material, which is a copper nickel alloy, and which gives the right sound. And it's the nickel in there, which is can be harmful in large doses. So, as a matter of health and safety for the individual, the principles, as well as driving, safety glasses, the insistence they have to wear masks when they're doing any burning. Called the silky.
So I got that bit on the bass that does it.
It used to be silk at one time, many years ago, when we were bought it. Nowadays it wouldn't be accepted very well in society to be silk. So it's a rayon. Rayon is made from wood pulp, believe it or not. That's where they make that from. Doesn't look anything like wood pulp, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Obviously the whole factory relies heavily on pneumatic air because all the machines work by pneumatic.
Right, okay.
So we have one machine there and a standby machine, because without that you certainly would have a flusher.
Yeah.
We also need a dryer because fresh air is wet.
Right, okay.
So we have to have a dryer.
Yeah.
And that dries the air. So in other words, it will purify the air, dry the air before the air is actually used in the factory. That way, all the actuators, anything to do with pneumatics on the machine, you know are going to work spot on.
Lovely.
All the production plant here is made in-house. Jason's father first started many years ago, and I was involved a little bit with that, back in the 80s. And some of these machines here will make 6 strings up simultaneously.
Wow.
You also get one person who will work anything up to 3 of these machines at the same time. So as one machine is running, the other machine is being loaded.
Okay.
The other machine strings are being taken off one machine, put on another machine, and running on another machine.
Right.
So
wow.
Obviously, from a productivity point of view, the downtime and everything has been worked out such that the time of motion, we know exactly the right way, the timing of what machine should run when. Jason took his father's design a little further.
Yeah.
And what we then did was to say, right, we're going to turn all our bass machines into state-of-the-art computerized machines. And that's what we have now. All these machines you see with the red boxes on them, which are housing all the gear boxes and the tension boxes. This was an idea that Jason wanted to do, and we all, us engineers, myself being one, contributed towards that with various ideas until we came up, or Jason eventually came up with the ultimate in machines.
Right, okay.
And these machines will produce many hundreds of strings per day.
And that's all based on electric?
20 machines. When the strings come off the factory, at the end of the day's work, the strings are then placed into this stand here, special A-frame stand. And with the strings in a job sheet, we know exactly who made the strings, so we had some form of quality control.
Yeah.
And also at one time, when they were working on bonus, it would tell us how many strings were made per hour from that operator, and they would thus get paid bonus as per the quantity they made at the end of the day. The system slightly changed now, we've slightly altered that, but at the end of the day, they still must produce what Cathy would expect from them at the end of the day for that particular string they're making. Right. Obviously some strings take a lot longer than other strings, you have to make it account for that. The strings will come to this point here, and then they're placed into the packing room. The packing room is also our inspection room, and when the strings come in, well, they're hung up on those frames at the back there. Right. And they'll be there, ready for when Cat's ready to pack them. The girls will then place the strings and the packaging, which comes from upstairs, on the table. Right. And so as to prevent any mix-ups, a strict regime or strict discipline is applied to in the packing room. Right. And you can only have the right strings on the table at the right time with the right packaging, if you see what I mean. Okay. You imagine there's so many different permutations of strings. Yeah. It would be you'd be in trouble. You obviously want to reduce the risk of any mistakes and errors, having the wrong strings in the wrong packet. That's right, yeah. There's a strict regime at Cathlon which makes note of that. At the end of the day, when the strings are made and packed into their new foil packaging, which by the way is a hermetically sealed packaging. Right. It's a far more advanced way of packaging than what we used to use. At one time we will have, they would be in paper packets. That's right. And then the packets would be in the box. Now they're in a foil with no paper, no packets. Inside they're packed with silica gel as well, and so they can go anywhere in the world now and without getting dry. Protected from humidity, from condensation. If you will get the temperature changes on cold steel, you can imagine you've got that problem too. Now we can totally guarantee that there's no reason at all now why you're ever going to rust the string inside one of the new packaging that we're using. It's gone down very well, been accepted very well indeed in the marketplaces all around. Yeah. Apart from the obvious one of protection, the colours are far more vibrant and it's a far easier and less weight from the point of view of the customer, so he doesn't have to pay so much for his transit charges. Yeah. So really it's cut our costs down tremendously as well, which of course we pass on to the customer. So all this is all part of progress. Yeah. And it's a new thing that we introduced about 2 years ago, and it's been a great success for us. And of course the other thing with it is the security, because nobody at the shopping is taking out strings from sets to be able to sell as singles, and then some poor innocent player finds he's got a 5-string guitar set. So once they're packed.
So we're talking about barcoding?
Yes, I mean every product nowadays we have to barcode, whether it's sets or singles. If it's singles, of course, we still sell them in an envelope, yeah, in a paper envelope. There's no other way to do it. But that envelope itself has to be, we have a barcode machine over there, and we can automatically roll off as many barcodes as we want, self-adhesive types, and just put them on. But every shop now, particularly in the States and around the world, it's all automated. Yeah. And so you have to, another one of those things that we had to introduce a few years back now. And, right, okay. Something else that, just something else we have to do. So, hopefully then everything is stored in an order, of course, around the store. And we also do work for other companies as well. We do some special.
Is that Mason Guitars, isn't it?
Yes, yes. Manson Guitars. Patrick Eggle, we've done some for him as well.
Wow.
And also a few other companies. There's Legacy as well. It's another one. Obviously, because we have the manufacturing capacity here, and we have the expertise after so many years of being in this industry, then it figures that most people want to come to us when they want a set of strings made, because the investment for them would be far greater, whereas for us, we've already, over the years, we've already invested the money and put that money back into the business to keep up with both the advancement in technology, which we have to do so that we remain competitive.
Wow. That's awesome. Look at all the strings.
Okay. I think I've pretty much covered
everything,
everything now.
That's brilliant.
Try to condense it in 30 minutes. I promised Jason I'll let you have him back with Rob. Yeah.
So is that it then?
And of course we've come in that way, and then that's the way they go out. So it's goods inwards and goods outwards.
Lovely.
And at the end of the day, UPS and the postal, the carriers and couriers. Yes,
there's everyone going to lunch.
Break.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they're so happy. Get some food in them. And of course, we have a nice clean factory. It's not as far as factories go. It's a very clean factory to work in. Yes, but as I say, these machines are superb. They do a grand job.
Cool.
Because we built them, we know them inside out.
Yeah. Didn't it start with? Is it Jason's dad?
Started with Jason's father back in the early 80s. In 82, actually, I remember the drawings. And he started with the 6-stringers, because he thought, well, you know, especially with guitar strings, when you're trying to wrap 4-thou wire, which is only about a thou and a half thicker than a human hair,
right?
Very difficult. So what they used to do, the girls, the women, mainly the women, because they were better at it than the men, more nimble-fingered. They would usually make 3 at a time. So they'd have a machine with 3 cores, okay, with 3 heads, I should say. This would be a head. They'd have 3 of these, 3 cores, and then they'd lay on by hand 3 cores simultaneously, all the way along the core like that.
Wow.
So they could, and that way, of course, because 4-thou wire, you can imagine, the thinner the wire, the longer it takes to wrap.
Right.
Yeah? And so, you know, when you're dealing with 4-thou wire or 6-thou wire, it will take forever.
Yeah.
And so to increase the cost, the girls were actually laying 3 on at a time by hand. Quite a skill.
Yeah.
To get them absolutely right. You know, but they were good. They did it, and they're good. Because eventually, from then on, James said, well, I don't know, we should be able to automate this now. So this machine was his very first design. You could run 6 strings at once. One of the things you have to ensure is that each reel of wire has to be mic'd up and batched.
Yeah.
Because a wire, like any material, has a tolerance. If the tolerance on one is on the upper limit and the tolerance on the other is on the lower limit, what you will find is that some of the strings will be running out of sequence with each other. And so you get wide spun strings, or you'll get strings running back on themselves. Or that is the wrap wire running back on itself. You can't have that. And so you want perfect strings every time. So that is why the wire back in the store has to be batched, so that it's of the same tolerance batch.
Right, okay.
As we can get it. But you couldn't imagine the science in the wire, because there are so many things that can go wrong with wire. Whether it's curly, whether the temp's slightly wrong, too hard, too soft so it breaks too hard so it won't grip the core.
Yeah.
The core itself, being hexagon, has to be a sharp hexagon. So in other words, if the dies that they use at the mill for drawing the wire, if they're in any way worn, instead of getting a nice sharp point on your hexagon, you get it rounded. If you get a hexagon where the profile is lost on the tips, what will happen to that wrap wire is it will slip.
Right, okay.
If it don't slip now, it will slip a week later when some poor soul's putting it on his guitar. And you say, these don't last long, you know. So all these little things have to be checked and rechecked to make sure that it's all up to making what we want to make, which is of course the world's best guitar string.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to do that is with the best materials and the best people. And this is something that we strive for all the time. But every day, everything is checked, and every day we have to check things, whether it's that or wire can be marked. You know, if with the wrap wire, if the dies are worn again, it's something that easily happens in wire drawing companies. Dies are exceedingly expensive. They use what's known as a compact die, which is a die which is a man-made die, and it's made up of crystals of diamond and then bonded in a resin.
Right.
They use that for roughing down the string, the wire, and then the final draw is on a pure diamond die, which is far more expensive, and it's a pure diamond, and they laser cut the hole in the diamond. Being so expensive, when that diamond wears, naturally it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money to replace it.
Right, okay.
So they'll make it run as long as they can. The problem with that is, if we don't watch it, we might find that on the surface of the wire now you get rubbing, not cutting. And if you get rubbing, you get shiny patches, shiny spots on the string. So it might look alright on the reel, but when you make a string with it, you look at it, it's all mottled.
Right, okay.
It's not good.
So,
or we get credit. Not good. So there's kinking, there's chatter, there's discoloration, there's oil, there's rubbing and marking. There can be all, and of course size-wise sometimes it can be the wrong size. Or it can be up on size 1 minute, down on size the next. You try and set the machine to you know, precisely for that length, not have a problem with your size, the wire coming off the reel, comes off the reel at one size, it slightly reduces a little bit, then comes back up a little bit. Try and set the machine with wire like that. It's impossible.
Right, yeah.
It drives the supervisor around the bend. So we then have to, so there's all this feedback to the suppliers of the material, but there's a lot involved. You know, in terms of engineering, it's not as complex as manufacturing, making a motor car.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a lot more in this, making music strings, than ever meets the eye.
Right.
Apart from the theory and working out what right covers are used and combination of covers need to be used with a certain core, and to get the best sustain, to get the best. You know, a good string, I've timed it myself on my head to the body of my guitar, and the sustain up just over 4 minutes.
Wow.
Or I can't hear the string anymore, the vibration.
Wow.
And that's quite something. You know, you can say that with some strings, there's such a thing as core cover ratio.
Yeah.
And pretty much want the thinnest core you can get away with without breaking, right? And the only mash you want is the wrap wire. Then that way, you know, it's obvious that the thicker the wire, the more the inertia factor kicks in, because as with anything that's pulled taut, the thicker the wire is going to be, the less it's going to oscillate. Or it's going to come to a state of rest far quicker than it would if it were a thinner wire with a lot of weight round it.
Right, yeah.
On the outside. So if you use a nice heavy wrap and a thin core, then that's going to oscillate for quite some time before the good old surrounding ear says that's enough, and you know, and it comes to rest.
Right.
There's all these things, but there's also tone comes into it as well.
Yeah.
You know, thicker cores, thinner cores. Some players prefer a thicker core. And so apart from physical touch when you're playing your string, and apart from the tone that you get, even to the point where the steel, if you use a stainless steel wraps, the stainless steel wrap has more friction than a nickel plated wrap. And you might think, right, for fast runs, fluid runs, You don't want any friction. You want to be able to run up and down like it all, you know, like it was grease on it.
Yeah.
You really want it. That's not always the case. If you ask Willie Sheehan, you know, the American bass player who we have a signature set for.
Yeah.
You ask him, and he'll say, no, I like the steels because I like the positive touch. When I move my fingers fast, when I hit the string, I don't want to slide. I want to hit the string at that point, and I want my fingers to stay there. And when you're doing that with great speed and effort, it's very easy to overshoot.
Right, okay.
So he will explain why he needs that much friction, a little bit. You know, it's just enough. That's what he gets. He doesn't get that from, obviously, from nickel-plated steel.
Yeah.
Or he's always used the swing bass for that reason.
Wow.
There you go. Right.
Bit of an education there.
We got all that.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me now. I've only got to do a paragraph. But yeah. Right.
In and out.
Hello, in and out.
Stop. Cool. Yeah, ready?
Fire away, yeah.
Cool,
Away, yeah.
awesome. So we're here with Jason Howe, company chairman for Rotosound Strings.
Good morning or good afternoon.
Somewhere in the world,
Yeah.
bound to be.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Rotosound.
Yeah, well, I'm the son of James Howe. Well, James Howe was my father, who started Rotosound in the late 1950s. He started it with his brother Ron and his sister Joan, small family company in southeast England near London, and went on to sell and make strings for The Who, Pink Floyd, The Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Yes, all these famous bands in the 60s, 70s, 80s and right up to date. We still supply a lot of top artists. I think our longest running endorsee, who's still with us, is Roger Waters.
Wow.
From Pink Floyd, and he first used the flat wound bass strings on Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which was the first Pink Floyd album with Syd Barrett. Used our flat wounds on that album and continues to use them to this day. So 1967 to 2015 is 48 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a long time.
And then other people like Paul McCartney used the black nylon bass strings on Abbey Road and Let It Be. In fact, if you watch the famous clip of the Beatles on top of the Apple building in 1968, you'll see the yellow silks on the black nylon bass strings.
Right, okay.
When he's playing Get Back. So we're kind of entrenched in musical history, yeah.
And obviously you've got some of the more modern players. You've got Michael Hammett from Arch Enemy.
Michael Amott and Guthrie Govan is
a
couple of our really top guitar endorsees. Noel Gallagher, Oasis, on a more broad range endorsee for us, acoustic and electric strings. So yeah, we're kind of the endorsee thing's always been really important for us.
So why do you think these sort of artists of this high caliber come to Rotosound?
I think with the history of our brand and the fact that when you put on Dark Side of the Moon or you put on Abbey Road by the Beatles or you listen to a Queen album or Brian May, I think the sound of the strings is something that grabs people. And so they go, okay, so what strings did Brian May use? He used Rotosound, so I use those.
Yeah.
If they're a younger band coming up these days, they'll probably listen to a lot of those bands.
Yeah.
You know, Zeppelin and The Who and stuff. So I think the reason they use them is the heritage.
Cool.
I would say.
Yeah, I mean for me it was tone chasing more than anything. It was literally just going to a shop, grabbing strings, playing them for a month, and see how they sound. And for me, it's always been, I always found the Rotosound sounded best over a long period of time.
Right.
Which is something that obviously is important for, let's say, DIY players who don't want to change their strings and, change their strings every sort of gig or something. Yeah. So, so what's going to come up now with Rotosound then? What's the next step for the company? What's going to happen?
Well, we just finished bringing out a range of fuzz pedals, which we dabbled with in the late 60s. And we've got a whole new range of analogue guitar pedals out, which are handmade here in Sevenoaks, as well as the strings. So, you know, we've done some accessory items, that's important for us.
Yeah.
The strings are always the bread and butter, but the accessories are good add-on business, you know. Guitar straps, cables, pedals, picks, capos, the accessories really.
Awesome. Well, we'll keep it short and sweet then.
Okay, well,
that was
nice to be here with you, and you know, hope you enjoy the article. So.
Awesome. Oh, it's going to go on YouTube, so
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
all video recording.
And yeah, while I'm here, I might as well promote my new album.
Go ahead.
I write a lot of 60s psychedelic stuff.
Yeah.
12-string jangly, 3-part harmonies and stuff like that. So.
Awesome. Fantastic.
I'll give that a plug. It's just up on iTunes. Speedboat on a Magic Sea.
Awesome. Brilliant. So there's the album. If you want to check out Jason now as well.
Yeah,
and
I use Rotosound.
All right, mate. Well, thank you very much.
Nice
Cheers,
one.
pal.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cool. So, just finished the factory visit. Sure you've seen all the process in there. Obviously check out Jason's music, bit of psychedelic 70s stuff. What can I say? It's been a learning experience. The guys there are great. So, I'm tired. Just came all the way from Nottingham, 5-hour journey, going back to London to make my way there, and try and reclaim some of the money they made me pay on tickets. But anyways, Rotosound, see you guys soon. Don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.